What's up everybody, welcome back. This video will be showcase of Upheaval and Deathblow build. We are using two shots, Rallying Cry, War Cry, and then Ground Stomp to apply the stun on targets because we are using 200 bludgeoning weapon as the main weapon. That I would say it's best for any Barbarian build because the passives Barb can get, mainly Wallop and Concussion, are just way too good. So we have that as a technique. We are using 200x for more vulnerable, for more damage. Also, if I was to push high level Nightmare Dungeons, or just Nightmare Dungeons overall, I would probably change Warcry for Challenging Shout, because endgame is all about damage reduction and armor. Anything that mitigates damage is number one on the number one spot. Not all about the damage, as most people think. So yeah, I use this build for farming gold and items, mainly in this dungeon called Circle Caverns. I really like this one. It's also great for XP because there is a lot of spiders, and you know, spiders is the best source for XP because one spawns billions of those, as you can see right there. So basically with this build, there is a passive where if we use Weapon Mastery skill, which is Deathblow in this case, our next core skill applies Vulnerable. So with this build, we have non-stop Vulnerable, as long as you manage your cooldown with Deathblow. Deathblow resets cooldown if you kill a mob with it, but if it's a single target, if you manage your cooldowns, you don't use two Deathblows in a row. Now we get Ground Stomp set to get us Fury on a hit, and same thing with Deathblow. So Upheaval is one of the most, you know, it's the more expensive core skill, but thanks to these generators, doesn't really matter at all, which is great. I am running Fury cost reduction on Amulet and the boots, so that's a great help. Plus resource generation, that's the main stats for Barb. Fury cost reduction on Amulet and boots, resource generation on the rings, and then it will be cooldown reduction both on Amulet and the headpiece. That's what I think is the best. And now offensive stats. This goes for any build, right? It's vulnerable damage. So in this game there are so-called damage buckets, and vulnerable damage, crit damage / crit chance. Then it would be a main stat, and then it will be core skill, or the rest, meaning like damage to close, distant, bleeding, damage to CC, stuff like that. It's all in the one category, right? In the same bucket. But vulnerable, crit damage, and the core skill are the main three you want to focus on. Unless your build doesn't use core skill, you want to use, you know, damage to close or distant. That's why once again we use Thunder technique as the axe for vulnerability. So our generator for Berserk, or like the starter opener for Berserk, is Lunging Strike. If we crit, my crit is around 40%, I believe. I'll show you the stats. So lunging for Berserk, and then we just, you know, smash the ground away with either Deathblow or Upheaval. I was testing two unique hammers, one for Upheaval, the Hell Hammer. It's very weak, very disappointed with that. One great thing about the weapon is you have damage reduction, extra damage reduction on the weapon, but that's pretty much it. So that could be great for, you know, once again, high Nightmare Dungeons. I was disappointed with it. I might do some more testing, but And I was testing Overkill, which is for Deathblow 200 unique. This one is really good, but I don't think any of these weapons are worth giving up another aspect for. Because on a 200, I am running Accelerating Aspect, which gives us 50% attack speed. And attack speed is a crucial stat. Once again, going back to those offensive stats to focus on, attack speed should be one of those because it scales amazing with skills, you know. Faster attacks means, you know, higher DPS by a lot. 50% is a lot. And Upheaval or Deathblow are overall a bit slower attacks, but this attack speed, you know, helps with that. And also Lunging Strike, right? If you bind Lunging Strike to dual wield, which you should, because it's much higher attack speed, then on top of this aspect, it's really fast. So not only you generate Fury a lot, but then you also proc Berserk too. I went more of the defensive side of aspects on the armor, which I will show because I use that for my main build. My main build is a double swing build. I love that one so much. But yeah, I believe this was the end of the run. Just a little showcase how this build performs. Now I'll take you to the game right now. We will talk about the skills first, so let's get after it. So here we go with Lunging Strike, Berserk. This is the trigger. Then we have full upgrade Upheaval with a Furious Upheaval. Now this got nerfed. It used to be 8%, but it's still worth getting this one Because if you notice with Death Blow, if Death Blow hits, you know, a lot of mobs, it stacks up in. You can basically get all 10 stacks in one hit of Death Blow. We go with Ground Stomp for the Fury. Once again, stun is amazing. And we go max HP on top defensive side. Rallying Cry for 45. We don't really struggle with the resource, but having 45 up as soon as possible is amazing. And Barb relies a lot on 45 because we got the gems in armor and we got some affixes on the gear. We have Tough as Nails, and this is for mainly one reason. If distant mobs or any mob attacks you, they get bleed on them. So we don't have to use Berserk Ripping Aspect. And I'm also using this aspect. I'm a big fan of this one. So you get damage reduction for each nearby bleeding enemy, up to 20%. Really, really comes in handy. So that's only the reason why we take it. We got Warcry just for Berserk, nothing crazy. We don't really want this Booming Voice, but if I was to push Nightmare Dungeons, I would unspec from Warcry, put it in Challenging Shout. Maybe even put 1 point from Ground Stomp and put it in Tactical one for more Fury. And then I would definitely go with Booming Voice, all 3 points. And then Guttural Yell, absolutely 100%. I would drop movement speed. 1 point here from the Warcry. All these stacks go for Booming Voice. And another 3 points I would take from somewhere else. I would probably even take him from Heavy Handed. Like 50% crit damage is great, but this passive is really strong. I'm talking about really high end Nightmare Dungeons from 80 level plus because I completed level 84 on my main build with Double Swing, and let me tell you, it's all about defensive stats on gear, not at all about damage. Sure, damage plays a huge role too, but you need to stack up damage reduction, armor, HP, everything. But movement speed, so we can zoom, right? So we are fast in the dungeon. We go for Prolific Fury, amazing Fury generator. Once again, parasol with the Lunging Strike. Maxed out the Death Blow. You can actually get this one to 12 out of 5. If you can get +3 to Weapon Mastery on the Amulet, which I don't have. We go for Fury here. If you really struggle with Berserk, you don't crit often, I advise to go with this one. Because this one triggers Berserk for 3 seconds. It's great. Pit Fighter, maxed out because this is both offensive and defensive passive. I love those. We go Crit Chance. There is never enough of Crit Chance. So with this passive and with slowed mobs, once again, all mobs are bleeding because of this passive. And with this passive here, they're non-stop slowed, which means we proc No Mercy 24/7. So we are at around almost 50% crit chance, which is good. And then this is our vulnerable source. Once you use Death Blow, your next core skill makes the targets vulnerable for 3 seconds. Next up, we got offensive passives, heavy-handed, more crit damage. We got Valve, more damage by 15%. To stunned or vulnerable, with this build, we have both for all day. Concussion for even more stun. This is increased with the 200 weapon. So having a lucky hit on gloves is kind of mandatory, I would say. And then we go with Unbridled Rage. I don't see any other... I mean, Walking Arsenal could maybe work. But we would have to bind our Death Blow to 200 slashing weapon. But I'm not a big fan of that. It's just too much prep, in my opinion. Or you could just... I've seen people just... You can run Iron Maelstrom instead of Ground Stomp. And that would proc Walking Arsenal. I might test that. So these were the skills. Let's go over Paragon Board. So starting board is the same for everyone. I went with both ways because this is amazing for, once again, this is like both offensive and defensive in one node. And it's very low requirements. First glyph is Exploit, 100%. You also want to focus on all armor nodes as possible in Paragon Board. It might not seem like much, but I am rocking 9,200 armor unbuffed. And you can see that my AP is at 9,000. In the video, it was 5,000. I don't know what's happening here. Anyways, our first board is Decimator. Mainly for some of these reasons. This is a great board for DPS because it gives us vulnerability. So here we don't really take a look at the 200 slashing weapon, but we go with the vulnerable damage on all nodes in here. Once again, I love this one. Both offensive and defensive passive. Second glyph is Ambidextrous. Now, you don't want this. I only have this because my main build is Double Swing. I use dual wield, but there's exactly the same one. It's called Might right here for 200 weapons. So you want to use this one right there. Right there. Mainly, I mean, the 8% damage, it's okay. So we are basically missing still damage for this build, but it's mainly bonus to magic nodes. It is extremely powerful. because it buffs our nodes even more vulnerable here. Dexterity, which gives us crit chance and helps us meet those requirements later on in the Paragon board, but also damage reduction for vulnerable enemies, right? So we are stacked on all of it here. Oven with more vulnerable and armor, one of my favorite nodes here because armor is very crucial. Vulnerable too. All nodes here. Next up, I went for some armor because I got some points left, but I might try to go for like this legendary node, but we'll see. Once again, more armor. Resistances don't really do a lot in this game, but I still went for it. They will change it in Season 2. They already talked about it in the dev stream. Next glyph and next board is actually Blood Rage. Next glyph is Imbiber. This is damage while healthy, and your potion heals more. But it's mainly for the damage. I might change this one for more damage reduction. We could go for example, Territorial, or we could go for, I believe it was called Undaunted. I used to have that one, this one right here. More damage reduction while fortified. We have a lot of fortified sources, as you could see, and there is one aspect on the gear we have too. So I could go with this one, but I need to level it up first. I don't have it leveled up. Right, next board we have is Carnage. That's the only legendary node I went for. Once again, more attack speed. Lovely. We have a lot of crit chance, so this stacks up pretty fast. I had this one for Berserk Duration, but I changed points from it, so I went straight for the glyph. Our next up is Wrath, one of the best DPS nodes, DPS glyphs. Gives us great damage, a lot of that, and it gives us skills that crit strike give us Fury. We crit a lot, so Upheaval is an insane regeneration because it's a huge AoE skill. We wanted to go for Dex nodes here, but sadly it's locked behind these two. You don't really need these two, in my opinion. You always want to focus on the requirements, and this one requires for every 5 dex you get more crit damage, and the requirements is dex, so you want to find all the nodes here. Quick tip how to do that is just go into a keyword search, click on dexterity right here. It highlights every single dexterity node within the range, so you want to focus on that. I went for some more armor and some resistances, but I might look into a different. I will show you, right? So hold on, we'll get to that. We get some nice damage here to elite and while berserking. Our last board is Flawless Technique, mainly for the nodes here. So this one is amazing. Physical damage and crit damage, if you meet the requirements, it's 30%, which is huge. The glyph here, the last one is Martial because of the shouts, and once again, bonus to all magic nodes. I would probably switch glyphs here because the bonus to magic nodes is not that crucial. It's dex here, but it's crit damage with one-handed weapons. Once again, I use this for my double swing. That's why it's so good. But yeah, you don't need that. You don't need these points. But it's great for this. You get damage reduction from close enemies. We're a melee build, so this triggers all the time, right? So it's not too bad. And with these glyphs that buff magic nodes, you only need a requirement. You only need the 40 out of 40. That's it. You don't need anything extra like the glyph I just showed you before. This one, more armor. That's a 200 armor right here. Amazing. More stuff here. I might put some points in Flawless Technique because we would basically get attack speed from Carnage, which requires crit strikes. And here we would get crit strike increase. But it's only for 2 seconds. It could be great on single target though. I might test it. Now, as another board I would love to go for, and that one is called Weapon Master. For a simple reason. Look at this bad boy. This is 200 armor plus strength. Now strength gives you armor as well as skill damage. So I would love to go for Weapon Master. Pretty good nodes here. You get some movement speed after kill elite or damage to elites. You get some attack speed and physical damage. You get resistance and armor. This is another great one. So this board, this is lightning resistance armor. This board is we will need these boards for the resistances season 2, 100%. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. I will try to find a way how to make this one work or probably replace it. If I was to replace it, I would probably replace it with this board because the other nodes here, that's what I always look for. I look at these rare nodes because they tend to be really powerful, as you can see some of these. So this one is too important. This one is important because of the legendary node, so we won't change that. And this one crit damage, so if anything, I will replace it with the Blood Rage. which doesn't really offer us a lot, as you can see here. Some damage reduction from bleeding, but it's only 3 notes, 6%, not too bad. It is what it is. Anyways, we go to the gear, right? I'm gonna start from up top, from the headpiece. So the stats you want to look for on the headpiece are total armor, cooldown reduction, max HP. Those 3 are top notch. I was super lucky with this one. I got a very similar one to my main build, but we got +4 death blow, which is amazing. You can get +3 once again from the amulet. Total armor, good stuff. Maxed out cooldown reduction. I really want ladder with this one. Aspect, basic skill gives us damage reduction, 20%. This is a mandatory aspect for every build. Chest piece, I was already talking about this. This is more on the offensive side. We only have total armor maxed out, so I would probably want to roll the damage with 200 bludgeoning weapons. I would want to roll it to some damage reduction, or maybe even max HP. Numbing Breath is one of the best for Barbarian when it comes to 45 builder, so you want to get that one, 100%. Gloves, I'm missing one, actually yeah, I'm missing one affix on these gloves. Crit Strike, amazing roll, attack speed, amazing roll, Upheaval +4, but I would want to get Lucky Hit instead of Strength. I would want to roll that. But this aspect on the gloves is really crucial for this build. Your Death Blow gets +1 charge, and you have a Lucky Hit that makes us, stun the target. So, a great opener. You can just blast away from Upheaval, because the target attacks you, gets to be vulnerable. You start with the Death Blow that stuns the target, and you can just one-tap them with Upheaval. Our pants here, this aspect already showed, more damage reduction, more good stuff. These are my main pants, as you can see, stacked up with armor and even more DR. If you think that you have enough DR, you need more DR. And if you think after that you have enough DR, you need even more. Same goes with armor. There's never enough. Someone said you need 12,500 armor as a cap. Nah, that's a lie. Now we got boots, free course direction, berserk duration, movement speed. Berserk duration is pretty good quality of life. Damage reduction while injured, very useful. You need to get plus max FA charges +3, very important. It's another thing I locked out on this one. Aspect on boots, we want a Ghost Walker, because while we are unstoppable, we can move freely through enemies, so you will not be body blocked. We have only one unstoppable here, Rallying Cry. But if you did something you need, you can probably just drop Groundstorm and go with Wrath of the Berserker. That could play. Or you can even go with Iron Skin, but for Iron Skin you need one aspect, so don't know where we would put that on. And I actually miss a very crucial aspect for this build, and I have no clue where to put that one. And it is Shared Misery. Shared Misery is something we would need for this build, big time. You might even drop Ghost Walker and go with the, yeah, we could probably go with Shared Misery for more control. Mobs cannot kill you if they are stunned, right? Yeah, but that's something I would need to test. Anyways, that's our gear. We go with blue gems because this is damage reduction while fortified. Let's take a quick look at the DRs we have with this build. So vulnerable 20% from Paragon points. This is from one item, 10%. Class for damage reduction 10%, and another one. This is 30% from fortified. You would want to get at around 40% from all DR sources, but I sadly don't have that. I could make it though. If I had chest piece, I would roll descent reduction instead of two-handed, but that's pretty much what you want to go for. So on this weapon, this is my main weapon. Core skill got the lowest roll, sadly. We are still missing like 20% damage there. High roll strength goes once again super well with the armor, as you can see here. Crit damage, mid roll to low roll, more improvement there. But it's 801 to mace, so it's not too bad. As you can see, the aspect, this is a mandatory, I would say. Even I use this on my double swing build, which is, by the way, right up top. If you want to take a look at my build, I will make also updated version of my build because I did some improvements, quite a lot of them. One-handers are just stat sticks for this build. You don't need to look for item power, but you want to look for, like, this is a prime example of base roll. Vulnerable, core skill, crit damage, and then damage to stunned pairs well with our aspect on the two-handed retribution. Or you can go for damage to close enemies. You can go with that one too. Or if you want stats, even more stats for Paragon, you can go all stats. Another one, oh sorry, the aspect. You want to go for Edge Mastery, good damage increase, 20% max. We are almost always capped at Fury, as you could see. We have good resources, good builders for Fury. My another weapon is vulnerable, damage to close, damage to bleeding, plus strength. Not too bad. I am missing crit damage though. That's a crucial one. It's a very crucial one. Smiting is an aspect I really like. You won't really need this on normal dungeons, but once again, in harder content, you need to get the mobs stunned for a long time. Smiting is amazing. You also get increased crit chance if the enemies are injured. This is amazing against bosses, single target. Enter 200, this is a stat stick once again. All stats for the Paragon for me. Vulnerable, close enemies, crit damage, good sword. Retribution, max roll, 80% damage to stun enemies. That's why we delete everything that's stunned. Gems, we go for green ones, crit damage to vulnerable enemies since they're almost non-stop vulnerable. Now rings, crit damage, crit chance, resource generation are the 3 mandatory affixes you want to go for. Or you can go with vulnerable instead of crit damage. For one ring, I went with max HP. For the other one, I went with vulnerable. So here we have the shout aspect, Bold Chieftain, and then we have limitless rage for damage. I know most barbs use this for a 2-ender, so if you don't like that, you could put limitless rage on the 2-ender and get this accelerating on the ring. But mind you, it will be only 25% attack speed because aspects on 2-enders are 2 times stronger. Amulet, Fury cost reduction, cooldown reduction, the main thing you want to focus on. I have another amulet which has 2 DRs and then Fury cost reduction and cooldown reduction. This one is basically the same, but it is movement speed instead of 1 DR, so this is not too bad. It's probably the best roll you can get for a normal content. You want to get Disobedience on Amulet because aspects on Amulets are 1.5 times stronger compared to 2-enders. That's 2 times. So Disobedience for more armor. I am about 14,000 with Disobedience armor. Even more if I can pop a potion. That'll be 15,000 armor. But it's not even a max roll armor aspect on here. So Consumables, you want to definitely go with armor potions. This one is from Helltide. You can craft, this one is the best armor you can craft. So I recommend this one. You can even go with lucky hit potions that also drop from Helltides in here. Or you can even go with attack speed potions. I don't think I have these here, but... Or you can go with crit chance. There's a lot of them you can go with. Depends, like, they can be pretty expensive to craft. A lot of mats, so it depends. Expertise, we go with 200x, but there is one thing that occurred in my mind when I was going over the skills. So with this bleed tough as nails, right? If you stun targets, they cannot attack you, which means they are not bleeding, right? So once they wake from the stun and they hit you, you take full damage from them. You don't trigger the DR from bleeding. So I was thinking we could even go with 200 sword bleed. I might actually test that, which just occurred in my mind because I might use this for my main build too for double swing. We'll see. I will test that, but for damage you would want to go with 200x. We have a lot of lucky hits, so you can even go with whole arm. I was running with this one for a bit, especially if you can get shared misery on our gear. But I would go with the bleed for now. And I believe that was pretty much it. The gems and jewelry will be the skulls. Armor is the best damage mitigator right now. Resistances are just not in. And yeah, what is my resistances at? They are looking not too good at all. Fire cold is fine, but you would want to get around 40 or 50%. So I'm missing these here. It is what it is. Anyways, I would love to thank you all, everybody, for watching and being here. It means a lot to me. If you have any questions, hit me up down below in the description. Also, I live stream every day on Twitch, so the link will be in description. And yeah, I wish you all have a good one. Good luck with the grind. Good luck with items, the hunting. And until next time, peace.